One second. Yeah, I'm here. Hi,
Hi,
Ram.
Priya. How are you? You?
All good, Ram, and thank you so much. It's been wonderful listening to you and Anwar and watching all the pictures.
Yeah.
And privileged to be part of Chennai Photo Walk. Although I'm not a photographer, நானும் உங்க வாக்குக்கெல்லாம் வந்திருக்கேன் நான். If you remember, I was part of a couple of walks earlier as well. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks for accepting it. And I'll introduce Priya. She's family. Priya is a past accountant by training. She's UK-based. And she is one of bloggers. She has a content, and it's running for some years. And she's passionate about creating heritage. That's her passion. She was into heritage documentation.
Ram, your voice is breaking up, Ram.
Because of your it's coming. I think by this one.
Okay.
If you can mute your. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and in I'll continue this. 2011, she found the Alayam Content Trust, and which is doing heritage documentation and also cultural cartography projects. And 2.5 years, they've researched heritage sites along Kuvam River. And the reason for Kuvam River, why she's done it, Priya's idea is if people know the river, they will actually treat it better. Otherwise, nama generally Kuvam na vera mari pakrom. So instead of that, I think Priya's idea is to, if you document the and research and document the heritage along the Kuvam River, people will actually treat the river better. That's her idea. And this study has resulted in a publication titled Gods of the Holy Kuvam in 2017. And she conducts a lot of walks, especially, and speaks on various heritage topics. And that's Padma Priya for you. I'll give the speaking to Padma Priya. That's maximum I can speak.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed looking at the images, and I kind of stuck to hidden histories because there's so much to share about the hidden histories, and as a storyteller, that was my area of interest as well. A couple of pictures of what Mr. Anwar had spoken about earlier, I think, also overlap in my selection, which is again double credit for the photographer. And I'll try to share information which is not already been covered by Anwar, so that we don't have, we're not duplicating on stuff. So,
thanks, Priya.
In no particular, so no particular order, I guess. And we're just going by the alphabetical order, Ram?
Yes, I'm going by the alphabetical order, yes.
Okay, great. So, again, that's perfectly fine. Right, so Valvar Kotam again, Anwar had already spoken about Valvar Kotam, but the reason why I had chosen this particular picture to speak about Valvar Kotam is because over and above the fact that yes, it celebrates Tirukural, and it was a dream project of Karnanidhi, and the chariot is modeled after Tiruvarur. Obvious, people try to push in a little bit of their own image and identity into these things. But more importantly, I think the way that we goofed up with our water bodies is something that this is kind of standing testimony to how we goofed up with our water bodies, because there was this long tank which connected Tenampet on one side and Nungambakam on the other. So this long tank was like a boomerang shape, if you can imagine how it would have looked like. And then there was this Nungambakam tank, which was the feeder tank of the long tank. And then the excess water from the long tank would flow into the Mambalam canal, which then would empty into the Adayar river. And then the Nungambakam tank was very close to the Kuvam. So the long tank was kind of, you can imagine how the chain of water bodies would have been connected in those days to make sure that the excess water was shared between the water bodies so that the groundwater levels were maintained at all times. But what happened was, when the number of people, the population increased in Madras, and there was a requirement for us to have more space. the long tank was closed down. We have constructed T Nagar over it, and then there is the lake area in Nungambakam which has been constructed over the Nungambakam tank. Well, unavoidable as the city develops, so I am not going to look at criticizing or giving adverse comments about why this was done, but the end result is that one is, as the tank was being dried up, places like West Mambalam, there was a lot of elephantiasis. Even in my childhood, because I'm born and brought up in West Mambalam. Even in my childhood, I've seen a lot of people with elephantiasis. Yanakaloda, nariya per, especially people who lived in slums and all that. We still have mosquitoes. There's even a cricket team called Mambalam Mosquitoes. And then, the groundwater levels have really, really gone down that now, areas of Nungambakam, West Mambalam and T Nagar, either they get totally flooded during the rainy season or they are absolutely struggling for water during the summer.
Yes.
Next picture. Right. I think this was by Anurag. I mean, the same photographer whose picture was seen again. And the reason I chose both these pictures was that, hidden histories, the topic need not necessarily pertain only to monuments and buildings that are not known to anybody. I think we should also look at what you can cull out of images that are very much in public view. Anybody who's going to the marina cannot miss the ice house. So ice house, Kandipa, it relates with ice. Everybody knows that. There was a gentleman called Tudor, and this is not a British building. This was a building that was built by an American to sell ice to the Britishers. So the ice used to be brought in a ship over 4 months from Boston in America. The ice used to be brought to Madras over 4 months in a ship. Whatever remained of the ice was stored here and then sold to the Britishers. And then, of course, subsequently, the model failed because of the distance and also because it was easier for them to make ice with steam rather than import ice from such a long distance. So then he then sold it to a gentleman called Biligiri Iyengar. And Biligiri Iyengar had hosted Vivekananda in this house for some time, for a few days, which is why it is also known as Vivekananda House. And currently it is run by the Ramakrishna Math. The hidden history or the unknown history was that this used to be a home and a teaching center for Hindu widows, and it was run by Sister Subbulakshmi. So this is something that not many people talk about. I mean, in the late 1800s, if a person kind of became a widow, if a woman was married very early, she after the child marriage, if she lost her husband, it just meant the end of her life. I mean, she couldn't go to school, she couldn't get a career, she couldn't remarry. She became totally dependent on the other members of her family, and that is how she spent her life. Sister Subbulakshmi herself was widowed at a very early age, maybe 10 or 11 years, but then her family was very supportive of her continuing her education. And then, she wanted to do this to support other women like her. So she became a sister to many other widows who needed a place to go to. So, in fact, their families also were not very happy to keep them there because they were like a dead asset. But when Sister Subbulakshmi took them over and then, put them through education, she started the Sarada Vidyalaya. She started a school for the, children of the fishermen, which was originally called Kuppam School. Later on, it became the Lady Wellington School, which you can still see on your way to the Bharatiyar house. And then subsequently, when Ramakrishna Math took the Sarada Vidyalaya, they brought it to T Nagar. So I think beyond the recognition or the identity of storage house for ice and also the Vivekananda connection, Sister Subbulakshmi and her amazing work with educating young Hindu widows who then went on to become doctors, they went on to become administrators. They could lead independent lives, and they went on to train so many other young people and support other people like them. So I think that's important to consider when you look at Ice House.
The next one is an image by Arun Ramanan.
Yes, the Bharatiyar House. Bharatiyar House, again, it's there in Triplicane. Very few people visit it. There is an annual procession that happens on the Bharatiyar day when he is taken out like a deity in procession around Triplicane. but there's some government functions happen there. But other than that, nobody really pays interest to this building. But I would urge everybody to kind of go and see the Bharatiyar house. In fact, Arun Ramanan, I would have actually thought you should have gone inside and taken a picture rather than the facade, which any passerby would have taken this image. But for a real photographer, I think drilling deep would have given more pleasure, because there are a lot of hidden treasures inside that house. There are copies of his songs which had been confiscated by the British. The British had seized handwritten copies of his songs, and then subsequently they were returned with the seal that these were confiscated. So those have been displayed there. And then there are also, when everybody knows it as Bharatiyar's house, but Bharatiyar never had the money to live in such a big house. This was like a portion, like Ondu Kurthanam Mari, like store, where, Bharatiyar was only occupying one room where he was living with his entire family in this house. After he died, and then this family, of course, somebody else owned this building and it was completely dilapidated. The Tamil Nadu government purchased this building, which was totally damaged, raised it to the ground, got some old photographs from magazines and, other private collections, and rebuilt it exactly the same way like how it was earlier. One trivia with the Bharatiyar Illam, which taking off from what Anwar was saying, is that the copyright of Bharatiyar songs, after Bharatiyar died, a family member, because his wife was suffering, there was no money, she had little children to take care of, so a family member sold his songs to an LP record producer for 450 rupees, with a royalty of 1 anna to be given for every LP record that was sold. The independence movement was really gaining speed. We are still in the previous picture, Ram. So what happened was, AV Mayappa Chettiar had, he wanted the copyright of the Bharatiyar song. So he approached this gentleman, the Gujarati gentleman, and he had originally bought it for 450 rupees. And AV Mayappa Chettiar purchased the copyright at 9,500 rupees. And it was only in 1954, I think, the government purchased the copyright from AVM, and then they nationalized the entire collection of Bharatiyar. It was the first ever time that the government had purchased private collections of a poet and then nationalized it.
Wonderful. The next image is by Ashwin Kumar and
Yes. I really wanted to congratulate Ashwin Kumar on this picture, because, it's very easy when the theme is hidden histories, it's very easy to keep shooting monuments. But then he had shot the Chitlapakam Lake, which I thought was, a very refreshing change. I don't know if he submitted it under the wrong theme, but then if he had really seriously thought it was worth talking about under hidden histories, then 100% I think I must congratulate him, because the Chitlapakam Lake was, I think, about 85 to 90 acres originally, and then the Pachamalai under which the TB sanatorium is built. The water from the Pachamalai used to run and get collected in the Chitlapakam Lake, and it was recharging the entire area around Tambaram Sanatorium, Hastinapuram, Radhanagar areas, where there was absolutely no problem for water. Originally, when the TB sanatorium was started, the location was chosen particularly because there was a lot of herbal plants growing in Pachamalai, and then there was a lot of very crystal clear water in Chitlapakam Lake. Those days, if somebody had TB, they would just be sent to the sanatorium for months. Sometimes they will come back, sometimes they will die in the sanatorium. So the location was specifically chosen because it was of its proximity to the Chitlapakam Lake. But unfortunately, as the lake has been encroached and it dried up and more bore wells, now, Chitlapakam is well known for its dump yard. The solid waste is all being dumped there, and what is really sad is biomedical waste from the thoracic hospital is also dumped there. And then, the migratory birds have also reduced largely in number. So this is something, of course, the government, I think this year they have promised to start the renovation of this lake, and they are planning to kind of consolidate whatever is available. But clearly something that should be on our radar at all times when you're talking about Madras.
Before I move to the next one, I have one.
Yeah.
The temple there.
Yes.
Devi, Suryan's daughter. Lord Surya.
Sorry?
Mahantik.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Bhuvaneshwar. Next image is by Bhuvaneshwar.
Yes, the State Bank of India building. I wanted to talk about two things regarding this. One is, of course, State Bank of India was originally the Imperial Bank, and before that it was the Bank of Madras. So the British, of course, started banks for transacting in Kolkata, Mumbai and Madras. Madras, of course, was the first one. And then they brought all these three banks together and headquartered it here in Madras as the Imperial Bank. And subsequently, after nationalization, when several other state level banks were brought under one umbrella, and it became State Bank of India. More importantly, it is one of the buildings that have been built by Namperumal Chetty. So Namperumal Chetty was a person he was a builder, and he had 99 houses in Chetpet, and there are a lot of WhatsApp forwards about Namperumal Chetty. I'm sure each one of you has received it and have believed in it that Chetpet was named after Namperumal Chetty. Please rest assured that there are inscriptions calling Chetpet as Chettupattu and Setrupedu even before Namperumal Chetty's grandfather was born. So, I mean, his contribution to Madras history definitely cannot be undermined. He has built a lot of buildings, the Kanimara Library, of course, the State Bank of India building, numerous buildings that today we see in this red color. He adopted the style of Robert Chisholm, who was, I would say, the father of Indo-Sasanic architecture as far as Madras is concerned. He took over from him and built a lot of buildings here. The other information about Namperumal Chetty is he also supported mathematician Ramanujam in his last days in his house. So this particular photograph reminded me of Namperumal Chetty as well. Okay. Next picture.
This is an image by Harihara Subramaniam in Broadway.
Yes, I think Harihara Subramaniam sir, he had actually both the pictures that he had shot. I had picked up both of them because truly, these represent the hidden histories in Madras. And this particular building, which is the CMS building, it's called Centenary Hall, because the particular hall was built during the centenary of the Church Missionary Society. So in the early 1800s, the British government started sending out missionaries to India to propagate Christianity. And 7 missionaries came between 1814 and 1816. And 2 of them came to Madras, and they started something known as the Tucker Church. And it was here that they built a church, they built a hall for conducting events, and then there was a seminary as well. And in 1901, this whole building was renovated. So you see on top there is a plaque which says 1901 CMS. Yeah, so it was not the year in which it was built. Actually, this building is maybe from the 1820s. But then, the plaque was only put up when the renovation happened. So it is the 1901, which is not the construction year, but the renovation year of the building.
Okay.
And I think now this building is not under use at all. Definitely needs attention and protection.
Yeah. Yes, and the Tucker Church still has a live organ opposite to this, a live organ which they can play.
Okay, great.
And the next one is also Mr. Harihara. In triplicate.
Yes, this one I was really surprised to see this picture, because this is the Davanotsava bungalow, and this Davanotsava bungalow was built by a Telugu gentleman, Vaishnavite, because he wanted his bungalow to look like the High Court. By looking at this building, you would not think this was connected to a temple, especially, the Parthasarathi temple, which is very conservative. But then he wanted to build his bungalow like, he wanted to model it after the Madras High Court. And then, of course, he couldn't complete it during his lifetime. And then, he gave it away as a grant to the Parthasarathi temple. And then the Davanotsavam happens in the month of Masi, which is February, March. And basically the purpose of the Davanotsavam is that Parthasarathi Perumal goes for a retreat, because the summer begins after March, so it's kind of to cool him down. Just like Rajnikant goes away to Himalayas, or the Kerala actors go away to Kumurakam to rejuvenate themselves. Obviously, he's a god of he's been in the war field protecting Arjuna and all that. He needs to chill a bit, right? So he goes away in the morning. He's taken in procession with very simple clothes and everything, and then the Abhishekam happens in this bungalow, and then there is a mirror room. So the mirror room kind of it keeps the atmosphere inside that room very, very cool, and the whole day he's fed all cool things. So fruits which will cool him down. He's given, even cucumber is given to him. So everything that will cool him down. And in the evening, he goes on procession around the bungalow, completely decorated in Davana garlands. So Davanam is what you would be putting in your kadambam, the green colored perfumed leaves that you get. Marugu, Marikolundu, Davanam la solluvom, yeah. So that is Davanam. So Davanotsavam is the one that kind of where he's completely dressed in those Davanam garments, so to perfume him, to cool him down, to calm him down, and then he goes back. So 3 days he would come here and relax and then go back. Of course, I think now there is some renovation that has happened in this particular building, but more to happen. I mean, more can be done here. This building is from the 18th century, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, thank you. I'll move to the next one by Maheshwaran.
Sure. Okay. Yes. So the Carl Smith Memorial, already Anwar has spoken about it, but I wanted to share one particular information about this. In 2014, the Reach Foundation and IIT Madras were involved in renovation of this Carl Smith Memorial. Of course, it is built in memory of a European sailor who lost his life saving a British girl. And then, during the Reach Heritage Awards function. At that time, she had been awarded the Reach Heritage Award for, she was a civil activist who was completely fighting for the renovation of this memorial. This is the only memorial that is there on the Besanaga beach, and she had spent, I think, years of her time and several attempts with the Chennai Corporation to get this renovated. And at her age, at the time of being awarded the Reach Award, was 87 years.
Okay.
Even now we feel tired. We feel, why should I participate in this? I've done my bit. But at the age of 87, the kind of energy and the kind of zeal she had to get this monument renovated was something that I will never forget. And she had even made a presentation of pictures, even close-up pictures of the kind of vulgar graffiti that was there on the memorial, which were removed. But I think again now the graffiti has come back. Yes. I haven't gone there in the recent few months. Yeah,
Martins and arrows,
and everybody's name needs to be there. உண்மையிலே அவங்களுக்கு அவங்க காதல் அழியாம இருக்கணும்னா அவங்க ஒரு கட்டடம் கட்டி அதுல அவங்க பேர் எழுதணும். Not in other people's thing. I mean, of course, this is off topic, but I want to share one incident. We had gone to the Pusimalai Kuppam Palace in Arani with architect Mohan Hariharan. Anga the building had been let out to some film shooting. This is a British building, very beautiful palace which is in ruins. But then the guys who had used it for shooting, the enter pannonave perissa mela vandu another something like Mangata Ebdi Setta or something like that. They have actually painted it for the horror film that they were shooting and did not bother to remove it. So that movie was shot, I think, about 5-7 years ago. Anybody who goes there, you enter and then this says Mangata Ebdi Setta. 10 years down the line, somebody will come up with a story that Mangata was the queen or Kallakadali of that Arni Zamindar, and then she died in that building. I mean, this is, I think as Indians, we really need to pull up our sleeve when it comes to treating monuments with respect.
Yes.
Sorry, Ram, I'll get carried away. Next, Padam.
Next is by Meena Dharmeshwar.
Yes. Manimangalam Dharmeshwarar temple. The reason why I chose this picture is because, I mean, if you want to shoot the Dharmeshwarar temple, of course, there are beautiful views that are available. This is an ASI controlled monument in Manimangalam. But then it was not for the photography aspect, it was more for the history aspect that I chose this image. When you talk about wars, when wars happen, immediately we talk about Battle of Plassey and Battle of Panipat and things that we don't even know where Plassey and Panipat is, but that is how we will connect with wars. But very few people would actually believe if I tell you that there was a war that was that happened in Manimangalam. And this was a war between Mahendravarman and Narasimhavarman on one side and Pulikesi on the other. Of course, those who have read Sivagami in Sabadam will definitely know about this. But that's a romanticized version. But if you go to the Selayur Siva Vishnu temple, you can actually see where, the kind of, I would say, homogeneous cannonballs that they had used and other things. They weren't actually cannonballs, but weapons of that time, of the 7th century, the places where it had fell and all that. So the good thing here was that Pulikesi was defeated. They were able to save Kanchipuram from his siege, and then he went away. And very interesting inscription in the Manimangalam temple is that, there's a Chola inscription which talks about the king, Veera Rajendra, who went to Sri Lanka and won over the king there. And then while coming back, he has brought his wife and sister as prisoners, and he has chopped off his mother's nose. I'm always reminded of Vadivelu's comedy in Winner, where he says, what is the heroism in cutting off an old lady's nose and then putting up an inscription about it? Okay. So that's the other hidden history of Manimangalam.
It's really hidden, I guess. This is an image by Murli Mohan.
Yes. Again, very interesting. I want to thank the photographer for bringing out this photograph from Maskanchawadi market, popularly known as Kori market. This again, just like how Manimangalam shows the dark side of Madras, the Kori market is also another, place where the illegal pet trade happens. So there are a lot of people who bring stolen pets, hybrid pedigree, and then sell it there. You can buy birds, you can buy animals, you can buy even prohibited species here. And then, of course, all the pet dealers shoot it. But I really want to congratulate the photographer for bringing out this aspect in hidden history. So, yes, Maskanchawadi market, Sunday market, Maskanchawadi market, Kori market, which is the illegal pet market of Madras.
And I heard that many owners, if they lose their pet, they first Kori market to check if their pet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just like you lose your bike, you will go to Pudupet. If you lose your pet, you go to the Maskanchawadi market.
Yeah. This is by Muthuraman.
Yes, the Madras Museum. The Madras Museum, the National Art Gallery door. Again, Madras Museum, all of us know it, second largest collection in India. The architecture there, the Indo-Sasanic architecture, everything. But then the hidden history about the Madras Museum is like originally it was a private property called the Pantheon. And then subsequently it became a banqueting hall for the British. So they were conducting all this dinners and dancing events and all that till such time the banquet hall and Rajaji hall was built. And then subsequently what happened was in 1850, this Madras Literary Society Library, I don't have the Aruhada to talk about it because Tripur Sundari is going to be my successor to speak. But then Madras Literary Society started the first zoo in Madras in this building. So it was originally a zoo. Yes, it was, so Edward Balfour, who was the first curator or the head of the zoo, he was actually a medical doctor. He was also a medical doctor, he was a linguist, and thanks to him,
Sorry, 1 second, I'll make an announcement. If it gets disconnected, all of you can relog in because it's 1 hour cut off.
Okay.
If you want to cut and reconnect, and
sorry, what should I do?
No, you can disconnect. I will reconnect. Go live. One.
You want me to disconnect?
Yes, and I will go live again. You can join.
Okay, fine.
Because I think I have a cutoff of 1 hour. Priya, sorry.
Hello.
We chat.
No problem, ma'am. Yeah. Yes, no worries.
This is
So,
Priya.
should we wait for the others? Because I think
They have
earlier
come
it was
back to about 50 odd. Now it's come back to 37 odd. We can start, I guess.
Okay. So Balfour, when he took over as the first head of the museum, then he started a zoo there. And being a statistician, what he would do is he would put different animals, live animals for view, and see how the crowd varied. Then slowly, the collection expanded, and then the zoo was, of course, moved to the People's Park. And there it became the a larger zoo, which finally moved to Vandalur. So from a zoo, then from an aquarium, then finally it became the museum that you're able to see today.
Okay.
Next picture.
I think that's the last one.
Okay. Thank you.
And thank you, Priya.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you. I will now invite Sundari. You might have to drop off from the live, Priya, then I can.